Hello, welcome back to the Cupcake Gemma channel with me, Gemma, and I'm here at my shop, Crumbs and Doilies in Soho, and the guys downstairs have been having a proper cookie day. Everyone wants cookies. We've almost sold out, and the most popular one by far has been cookies and cream. Now this is a new-ish flavour, and since we've had it on the menu, loads of you have been like, recipe please, please can I have the recipe? So you know me, I love to share a recipe. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it, and at the same time, a handily supply downstairs with a few more cookies to sell. So the first thing we're going to need to do, because this cookie, which is delicious by the way, so it's a take on an Oreo cookie, if you will. So it's a classic sort of dark chocolatey vibe, but we've got loads of like white chocolate, we've got all that sort of vanilla-y flavour, and also we put actual Oreo crumbs inside the cookie and all outside as well, so it's got a really, really yummy flavour. And the first thing we're going to do is get the filling prepared, because that needs to freeze before we put it in the dough. White chocolate spread is actually, it's not super easy to find in the supermarket, although you can find it. This is what we use. If you can't get a hold of that, just use white chocolate in place of that. So when it comes to filling it, just fill it with a few nuggets or even like a square of white chocolate and it'll still be delicious. But this is like soft and squishy, as you can see, and it will remain so after it bakes, which is why we like to use it. So I'm gonna scoop out 12 blobs, and it's roughly, I'd say like, just under a tablespoon amount. I'm just gonna pop them onto a little tray and then pop them in the freezer to get really hard. So just pop those into the freezer. You're gonna need to freeze them for at least half an hour, my secret freezer door, so that they're nice and hard when we use them. And now I'm going to get on with preparing all my bits and pieces. So the first thing I like to do is to whisk my dry ingredients together. So I have a mixture of plain flour and self-raising flour. They're going in the bowl. And don't forget, all the measurements are in the description box. I'm also putting in black cocoa. Now this is a really specific kind of cocoa. It's lovely and rich and intense, but if you can't find that, regular cocoa powder will be just fine. And then 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then give that a little whisk to help it combine. And the other thing I like to get ready is my eggs. So I've got 2 large eggs, and I'm gonna add 1 egg yolk to that. Just give that a little whisk. I like to do this at this point because I think with these cookies you don't want to overmix it at any point, so the more you have done in advance, the better. So right, I've got all my ingredients all measured out already. I've got my butter measured, and it's in the fridge because when we make New York cookies, we want the butter to be really cold. So I'm going to put that into my mixer because that's the first thing that's going to happen, the buttery bit. But I'm also going to add my sugar. So I've got my light brown sugar and caster sugar. So then just put that onto the mixer, and then using the paddle attachment on a low speed, just start to break up that butter, and eventually it will end up looking like this big chunky rubble. At that point you can go in with your chocolate chips and nuggets. So I'm going to be using a mixture of dark chocolate and white chocolate chips, and all the measurements are in the description box below. And I'm also using crushed Oreo biscuits. This is without the cream. You can buy it ready crumbled, or you can just do it yourself. And then mix that until it's all really well combined. So it's still looking really rubbly at the moment, but when I add this, my dry ingredients, and mix it all about, I'm looking for it to become a kind of sandy consistency. Now obviously there's going to be chunks of chocolate and whatnot in there, but you want the bulk of it to be quite sandy. Right, this is looking nice and sandy. As you can see, obviously we've still got some chunks of chocolate, we've still even got a couple of chunks of butter, but the rest of it is kind of that like loose sand texture. So now we can go in with the eggs. Right, that didn't take long. Also, I didn't have my mixer going around fast, it was all slow all the way, because it's really important to not overmix or be too vigorous with this. We just want it to be just mixed so that we can get that craggy, really like uneven shape on our cookies. So what we've got here is essentially cookie rubble. It kind of does look a bit like rubble. I'm going to just turn it straight out onto my worktop. I know this seems crazy, but it just makes sense to me. Right, now here at Crumbs and Doilies, we like our cookies to be beast-like. in size. So we always measure ours 125 grams. So for us, it's really important to have scales, and really for you, it should just be important by now. So I have my scales. Let's see how I go. Oh, so close. Right, so you've got your 125 grams. With these cookies, to keep that lovely craggy, uneven vibe, rather than like a smooth vibe, you want to barely squeeze them at all. So I'm just gonna clunk, but we want to get our lovely filling inside. So I'm gonna just stick my thumb right in there, just to make a little space. Grab one of my frozen chocolate spread balls and then squeeze round the top of that just to enclose him in. And then again, we never want to roll these guys because otherwise we'll end up with a horribly smooth cookie, which is fine for some things, just not for this. So the next thing we need to do is add more Oreos to it because this is a cookies and cream cookie after all. Now I've got more of that lovely crumble here and I'm just going to sort of squish some of it onto the outside. It can be a little bit tricky to get it to stick, but it doesn't matter too much. It doesn't matter if it's not completely encased. And then I've got a container ready because I'm going to put these in the freezer when they're all done. So just keep going until you've rolled all your cookie balls. That's all my balls, but now I've got to freeze them until they're rock solid. So that means at least 4 hours in the freezer, if not overnight, preferably, because they just need to be mega, mega, mega frozen before we bake them. So my balls are rock solid. They've been freezing for hours, and now they are ready to be baked. So I've got my baking sheet here. My oven's preheated to 190 degrees C, that's fan assisted. And these take exactly 16 minutes. And 16 minutes is the perfect amount of time to cook them thoroughly, giving them a really nice crispy outer coating, but keep the inside being really soft and squishy. Just what I like my cookies to be. Guys, these smell incredible. They smell really cookies and creamy, but also really buttery and chocolatey and yummy. Oh. And they are all still warm, guys. So that means we've got oozy pools of delicious filling and chocolate. Look at that, so good. Now these are too hot to be put on the counter at the moment because they'll just fall apart. So I'm gonna let them cool down a little bit longer. But since I've broken this one, I'll probably better eat it. In the meantime though, if you have liked this video, please do give it the thumbs up by clicking the little thumb icon down below. Maybe share it with someone who loves cookies, why not? Also, if you do like cookies, don't forget there's a whole load of New York cookie recipes. We've got them in a playlist, which we'll put in the description box, so check that out. And if you're ever in London, these are gonna be on the counter all week, so make sure you come along and grab yourself one. Now, all that remains is for me to eat this in private, so if you wouldn't mind just toddling off so I can make a mess of myself. Thanks, bye.